what's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in to Twisted Younginz, the most unorthodox show on the globe. And as always, I am one of your humbled hosts, Myra B. King.
And this is Desi Dez.
And it's your boy Mojo in the building, and we have a special guest with us today, sir. Let the people know who you are.
Well, I am the one and only J.A. Dudley. I am a retired MMA fighter, retired truck driver, and now a homesteader, plus I do so many more things.
Absolutely, sir.
Welcome to the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Great to be here.
Let's go ahead and start from the beginning. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in East Orange, New Jersey. Well, as I like to call it, the Communist Republic of New Jersey, which I, for a long time, was looking for a way to get out, not knowing what direction I wanted to go or how I was going to go about doing it. First, it was playing semi-pro football and figuring my way through that. Then after that, I turned to becoming a professional fighter. But there's so many different things in between. I worked for the telephone company. I did bodyguard work. I had my own security company where I worked security for various clubs and different entities. And now I'm here in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, with my hens being nosy. Instead of going in their hen house, they're sitting on top looking at me. So you see them all right there. The rooster's inside already. They want to sit on top and stare me down, trying to figure out what I'm doing.
Oh, so you have your own farm?
No, I don't have my own farm. I'm actually living on a property. Kind of. It's a bit different out here in Oklahoma. Well, especially in the part where I live at. I don't know if you can hear in the background, there's gunshots going off. Mm-hmm. And that's somebody on the property, I think, in that direction. But when gunshots go off out here, no one comes. You're on your own. So that's why you need to be armed up and prepared, and also live amongst the community. And that's what I do. But the property that I'm on, I am leasing it for the cost of mowing the grass.
Well, so then there is a lot to unpack here. So you're a gun rights activist. You are a former MMA fighter. You looks like you tend to kind of try to grow your own food or get about, you're of nature,
living off the land.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. So where should we start? So, so you moved to Oklahoma. What was the reason for you moving to Oklahoma?
Well, I was trying to figure out what direction I was going to. I was looking at moving to Maine with my wife. I looked at Kansas. I looked at some family property down in North Carolina. And we were just trying to figure out what direction we were going to go. And the strangest thing, a YouTuber reached out to me, invited me out here. And then as we developed a nice friendly relationship, he, over time, before he invited me out here, he challenged me to pick up a Bible and read the Torah. I did that. And then once I came out here to visit, he said, "Hey, would you want to live out here or work with me doing all different types of stuff?" I said, "Yes, I would." My wife and I, we were looking for property and trying to figure out how do we get out of New Jersey, and Oklahoma is where we landed.
Why do you think he challenged you to read the Bible?
He didn't directly challenge me. He challenged his viewers. And the person I'm talking about is Bear Independent. You can Google him and everything about him comes up. He's into preparedness. And along with that preparedness, why do you prepare? If you're going to prepare for something, it needs to be a reason. And it also needs to be a rule book or a guidebook on how do you deal with animals? What is food? How do you deal with your neighbor? How do you deal with your enemy? How do you cultivate the land? All of that is listed in the Bible within the first 5 books, which is known as the Torah.
So before then, were you heavily involved in the Bible or a follower of Jesus Christ?
No, I stopped. Well, I wore the hat of a Christian till around 16, 17, 18, because I recognized the path that I was going on. I had when I was that young, I had my trial sermon. I was traveling around the country. I was in the AME church, the African Methodist Episcopal Church. And then I started to recognize all the pastors that I would come in contact with. They would have scandals and all this different. They were embezzling money, doing all this stuff. And then I started to look at myself in the mirror. Oh, you're traveling around to all of these different places, and when you're supposed to be doing things righteous for the Lord, you're finding a new woman to sleep with every night at all of these church trips. So how could you minister to people on how to live a life of righteousness when all you're doing is whoring? So that's when I started to have questions and ask, well, I see this contradiction in the Bible. Can you help me? I asked hundreds of pastors, and they all gave me just have faith. Reason why they gave me just have faith is because they were not going to the beginning of the book and saying, well, to deal with all of these problems, all you have to do is follow the Torah and everything else falls in line. You know about the 10 Commandments. There's a little bit more than just that to guide you. And that's what they were not doing. They were living a secular life, and it was detrimental to their congregations.
Absolutely. That's a huge and common issue with most churches nowadays, and that's an issue with most people getting into churches is the scandals. You know, it's hard. What made you, or how did you get into MMA? How did you get into that? And was that prior to you making your transition to living off the land?
No, no, it was not. I was a bouncer, and then in the midst of a fight, well, I wear rings, if you can see. That's where the internet name fulmetalartimis comes from. One of my training partners gave me a mixture of them, gave me that nickname. But I was working security before I even knew about Brazilian. What are y'all doing? Go inside. My hens are just bugging out. Before I knew anything about jiu-jitsu, MMA, the UFC, or anything like that, I was working nightclub security after I got fired from my job at Bell Atlantic / Verizon as a telephone man, because everywhere that I went, I would drive at 120 to 130 miles per hour, just regular everyday driving. So I ended up losing my driver's license, started working security, and in the middle of a fight, someone said, hey, instead of punching people and bending up all of your rings, you should learn jujitsu. Like, what the hell is jujitsu? I had no clue. Then later on, as I'm playing semi-pro football, at a gym that I was at, they had a jujitsu like seminar introduction. I was like, oh, I heard about this when I was at the club. So let me do one of these free trial lessons and see what it was all about. At the time, I was benching 465 pounds for reps, trying to seeing that NFL check and realizing that I'm too short to make it in the NFL, even though I'm 6 foot tall. They want you to be 6'5". I went and took that class, and it was the hardest warm up that I've ever done in my life. Just rolling around with this little skinny Brazilian that was destroying me. So then something went off in my brain and said, oh, I need to invest more time into this jujitsu, but I couldn't understand them because they had a broken English accent in Portuguese. Then they suggested me to go check out this guy Dan Miragliotta, which if you watch the UFC, he's a referee in the UFC, and also Eddie Rowland, which was my instructor for years, at this place called Bama Boxing and Mixed Martial Arts. That was in Elizabeth, New Jersey, many years ago. So my MMA journey started in 2003. Then I had my first professional fight in 2007. I had my 26th and last professional fight in 2018.
So now,
what was your record?
Oh,
my record was 8-16.
So you won 8, but you lost 16.
Yes, and most of them, like none from knockout or anything like that. The majority of them were decisions. The judges, you leave it up to the judges, and you're going to lose every time. Let me throw this flashlight on.
oh, all right. There we go.
There we go.
All right. So after MMA, you go from.
I go from the transition started in 2015, where I went from the telephone company again into truck driving. So I was doing like local trucking, and then once I retired from MMA in 2018, I started doing over the road truck driving and hauling hazardous chemicals from state to state. And that's what I did until what I'm doing now.
Did you have an accident?
No, I never had an accident in a semi.
That hazmat is pretty good money in semi. You know, what made you want to give it up?
Is money your driving factor, or is the life that you wanted to live your driving factor?
Checkmate.
Yeah, because I promised myself that I wanted to live on open land, and this was even before I came back to the faith. I said that I wanted to live a country life, what I experienced visiting family in North Carolina back in 1986. I loved that life, but then being thrown back into the city, having that burning desire for the country living. Like right now, you can't see anything out here, but there's nothing but trees around me. Over there is cows. Over that way is cows. Back that way is some people. Back that way is some people, but it's at a far distance. So I had that desire and drive to want to live in a country, but I didn't want to wait until I retired at 60 something or 70 something to be able to actually enjoy it.
So with everything going on with the supply chain shortage, food chain shortage, how are you getting prepared?
Well, I was doing that before I was a truck driver. Like many families have done that, having a pantry, different things like that. But the preparedness of like what's that phrase? Beans, rice and bullets, or beans, buckets and bullets. I can't remember it exactly, but I started stacking up food. You buy what you need for your household, and then a little bit to put up on the side, and continue doing that. So when there's a major problem, you have supplies, whether it's medical supplies, whether it's food, water, a way to clean water, sanitation to clean yourself. Have any of you ever experienced a power outage before?
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you ever experienced your water being turned off? Not from not paying the bill, but just something happened, a water main break or something like that?
Water main break, boil water, yes.
Right. So dealing with all of that, you want to be completely prepared. Like right on the other side of this, well, me turning it around wouldn't do it justice. I have a 250-gallon IBC tote filled with water. I have 2 more over there that this week I'm going to clean them out, sanitize them, and fill that up. So, I'm sorry. they're 350-gallon IBC totes. So if something happens, my family won't be without water. In storage over here, storage on different properties, we have food. These hens right here, if there's a problem, lob one of their heads off, clean them up, and cook them. The same thing with their eggs. And people around me, they have animals as well that we eat.
Do trade and bartering?
Yes, indeed.
Okay,
that's
there
great.
we go.
That's
there
great.
we go. That's beautiful.
Yep.
So with all of that going on, how do you incorporate, I ain't gonna say how do you incorporate. How is it that you how hard is it to basically mend the two between, living off the land and trying to incorporate, obviously what's in the book along with what's going on out there? Because like you said, we're talking bullets,
like what are you getting prepared for?
Yeah. Basically, what are you getting prepared for? Like a lot of people will hear this, they'll be like, oh, it sounds like, he's gearing up for something. Well, what are you gearing up for?
Well, the biggest thing is I want to hope that I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
What is prophesied in the Bible, no one wants to happen, but you need to be prepared for it. If you have a failure of government, you don't want to rely on everyone else or have your children or your wife looking at you saying, well, we're hungry, or there's a group of people coming down the roadway and they're gonna rape you, rape your children, and all of this stuff. You don't want to be put in that position. That's why you prepare. If the power goes out, you have maybe, I would say, 7 to 14 days before there's anarchy. Because when the power goes out, you can't get gasoline. So if you can't get gasoline, you can't get back and forth to a store. If you can't get back and forth to a store, trucks can't get back and forth to a store. So then if the trucks can't get there, there's no food on the shelves. Everyone in the area around you will start to figure out, hey, I'm hungry. I didn't prepare. We need to go somewhere and overrun somebody that's prepared. So that's where the bullets come into play.
How do you survive without power for amount of time? Like, do you have a generator?
I have solar panels. We have generators on property, and they could either run off of gasoline or propane.
Okay.
And when we're talking about, like you said, if the power were to go out, there's no gasoline. Do you have precautions for that as well?
Yes, I do.
Now, what you have in the tanks and everything for you holding the water, are you doing rainwater? Are you catching rainwater and then converting it over?
No, the trailer that I live in right now, I did not set up rain catchment. Okay. I am filling the IBC totes up with rural water. Other people that are around me have rain catchment setups, but I haven't done that yet.
Okay.
Because they say catching rainwater is illegal.
Well, that depends on what state you're in.
Yeah, and where you are. Like in certain states, like they prohibit you from catching, which I don't understand why. If
frowned upon.
If you can drink purified water, I don't understand why you can't.
Well, that's why I forgot what verse it is. It's in Revelations. I have to look at it. Kuhim, come out of here, my people, lest you partake of her sins. So if you're living in a place that doesn't allow you to catch rainwater, doesn't allow you to have animals in your yard to feed you, if they have a problem with how you protect yourself, you're living in the wrong place.
And speaking of that, rural areas are actually growing fast, areas for people to actually locate. They're trying to move out to cities. Like I've been seeing articles about that people are actually moving to more rural areas. They're increasing population pretty fast.
Right. Because they're seeing the failure of government. They're seeing the failure of the infrastructure in this country. And they are recognizing, hey, with the high-speed internet, I can do my job from elsewhere, or it's cheaper for me to live further away and commute as opposed to living in squalor, pissing my money away for a little tiny room and not living the best life that I can live.
So how do you feel about them trying to implement a digital coin? How would you be prepared for that? Because there's rumors around that a digital coin will implement a social credit score, which is what they're doing in China.
Right. The social, a T-shirt and mindset and mantra that Bear Independent has is become ungovernable. If you are self-sufficient, it won't matter. So everyone that's still playing around in that system, they will have to deal with those problems. We're working our best out here so that if the world ends outside of where we live, we won't find out until weeks later because it won't affect our life.
So in other words, you're not bowing down to the beast.
Negative. That's a no-go.
So, when it's time
So
for that brain chip to come, if you want to move and you want to trade goods or you want to shop anything like that, you have to have this mark, you saying you're not with it.
Well, that's one of the reasons why it became accelerated. I started to hear the calling in early 2020. I had a conversation with my wife saying, hey, we need to get out of here, out of New Jersey. I don't know where. Let's get rid of the house that we're renting because there's no future for us here. We can live off of my semi truck and then possibly get a van and like do that whole van life craze. And she was like, no, that sounds stupid. So I started sending her information. She was like, oh, well, that's kind of cool. I already ride on a truck with you. We'll start saving more money. We'll be able to do this, be able to do that, be able to travel. Yeah. And we called the people that we were renting the house from saying, all right, it's February. Before our lease starts up again, we're going to be out of here in August. So my wife and I prayed about it. Then I started packing up things. I was looking for a van, couldn't find one. Then, what was it, in March of 2020, she found out that she was pregnant. So then we looked at each other. Are we going to cancel out what we're doing? Or is this a blessing from the Father because we are getting on the path to come out of here, my people? And she said, well, I think we should stay on that path and see what happens. So by June of 2020, I found a van that I was able to afford. It was a 2018 Ram ProMaster, which I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry about that. I found a Ram ProMaster, so I'm packing up the house, trying to build up the van for us to be able to live in. And then we were out of that house by, I believe, the middle of July 2020. And we would be on the road. She's pregnant, started feeling more and more ill from her pregnancy. So the bouncing around in the semi truck started to be a no-go. So she wanted to stay with my uncle for a little while to get off of the truck to get a little bit leveled out. Then when I would get back, I would get back on a Thursday or Friday. And since we started adhering to Shabbat, meaning the day of rest, from Friday evening into Saturday, I only had a small window to work on the van, to pack up the house, to get us out of New Jersey. And we then were going back and forth in the truck and the van. And that's when we got invited to come visit Oklahoma in October for Sukkot. That's one of the appointed feast times because go ahead.
No, I say it right.
So we came out for that. And then in November 2020, we moved out here onto this part of the property in the middle of an open field with animals and all types of stuff, living in a van with my wife being 7 months pregnant.
That's deep. That's deep. Not too many people.
That's having faith right there.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
So you think times are going to get? Well, see,
are we living in the end time?
Yeah, you're preparing. You read the Bible. You're of the faith. You're not. You don't have hens over there for anything, and all this water stored up. Your guns and everything. Do you think we're headed for extremely scary times that we haven't seen in a while?
It all depends on your perspective. People saw what happened with the pandemic, but then as soon as everything leveled out, they decided, oh, everything's back to normal.
Back in the club.
I don't need to worry about anything. Like, wait a minute. Did you see what China was doing when they were just locking people, welding people in their houses? Don't you see that they forced you to stay in your house? You weren't able to leave out.
And to add, May 22nd, they're having a World Health Organization, Carl Schwab, they're having the meeting in Switzerland in person this time. And they're going to be talking about if they're going to give the WHO the power to govern the health emergencies. So meaning it be out of the federal and states' hands, which is crazy.
Which is nonsense. And that again, see, they are governing people. You need to become ungovernable. Like, whatever they decide to do, they're not coming for people like me because they can't get to me. Like, I live on a road where, like I told you before, the police don't come back here. It's half dirt, half gravel where I live at. Where the next major city is about an hour away, and that's driving fast. There's nothing around here. That's the life that I wanted to live and achieve, and I was able to do that by the time I was 40.
There you go.
And man, no, you're right, because about China, they're normally the example of where we'll be headed. And when they had the people in Shanghai on lockdown, that's people don't understand what Shanghai is. That is a modern Shanghai. I'm sorry. That is a modern day city. You know what I mean? And for them to have all of those people on lockdown, people jumping out of windows, and they're
Australia too did the same thing.
Yep.
Australia, you know, and so what they did in the pandemic, they say, okay, all they did was took a break and regroup and came up with another plan. That's all they did.
That's 100% the truth. When I was still a truck driver, the whole pandemic thing hit. That was actually a good time for truck drivers because we didn't have to worry about the ELD, like the clock. We were able to run as fast as we wanted. We weren't getting pulled over. No cops were messing with you. Didn't have to go through a scale station to weigh your truck. You could just run because no one. If they deemed you to be essential, they allowed you to go. If you weren't deemed essential, you had to do what? You had to show your papers to show that you can pass and go places. You remember when Hitler decided that you had to show your papers to travel throughout Germany, and that's what was happening here in the United States to American citizens, but they let everyone else come here for free. If you keep your ear to different news outlets that are, I wouldn't say underground, but
independent news sources,
right, independent news sources that are getting that type of information on the trainings that are going on from other countries that even happens here in the United States. Yep. Like there are, when the United States have a military budget with another country, they bring those countries over here to learn how to use that technology.
Yeah.
I low-key think I think that there's going to be, and this is just me speaking, just me my opinion. I low key think they're already getting prepared for like World War III.
Oh, that's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
Vladimir Putin said that we've been in World War III for like 2 to 3 decades, and that's because after the Cold War, that's when the cyber war and the information war started. Now it's turning into it's going from a warm war or a cold war into a hot war.
Yeah, yeah, that's ridiculous. And so, with all this being said, because a lot of people don't know that China owns basically a lot of stuff in the United States.
Yeah,
even our politicians, if we're going to keep it real, you know what I mean? Like it is what it is. You know what I mean? Including
Hollywood too, right?
Oh, by far.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, they told, hey, you better change that.
John Cena.
John Cena, even with the Harry Potter movie that just came out, hey, you better edit this and take this out, if you want this over there. Yeah, so for sure. But it's interesting to see how everything is falling into play with China going into their own money system and aligning themselves with Russia, and countries are wanting to align themselves with China.
Drop the dollar.
They're going to drop the dollar. Well, they have kind of already, and countries are taking into consideration of joining with China because they see you have something to back up your monetary system. Right now, we don't really have anything to back up our dollar. You know what I mean?
We have promissory notes.
Exactly. We went from the golden standard to petrodollars to now. What are we going to have it back it up with now? And that's why Biden, he's like, okay, we need an executive order to explore this digital coin and all of that. I mean, look at how crypto just started crashing over the past week. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy. It's ridiculous.
And what you were talking about with that crypto dollar, that is a failed attempt to stabilize the U.S. dollar. That's actually going to crash the U.S. dollar and then put us into one of the biggest recessions that this country has ever seen.
Yeah, and I'm just afraid of where it's going to head to, man. That's what I feel like they were getting us trained up in the pandemic to get ready for. Not just the dollar system, but this new industrial age that they're talking about at these World Economic Forums. Yeah. They're telling you where technology is headed.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just going to hop in. That's where what my lifestyle is leads you not to be afraid. If you trust in the Father, you obey his commands, you prepare for everything, you have nothing to worry about.
Absolutely.
That's facts, man.
And
that
God
is
will, he will take care of you, though. You know, it's not, I mean, of course you should prepare and but a lot of people are not going to be prepared, you know?
Most people not.
Most people will not be prepared because they have that mindset that even if they are a believer in Christianity or a different faith, they will say that my higher power will take care of me. Right. There's a what was that story? People ran up and told a guy that, hey, the river is flooding. Oh no, my God is going to prepare. Is going to take care of me. Boats started coming through. My God is going to take care of me. I don't need to get on a boat. So he climbed up in the building. The water is rising higher and higher. He's up on a roof. A ship comes by. Said, come on, get on. He's like, no, my God's going to take care of me. A helicopter hovers and drops down the ladder and says, hey, hop on. And he said, no, don't worry about me. My God is going to take care of me. Then he drowns. Then he goes before the Lord and has judgment. It's like, well, God, why did you let me die? It's like, stupid. I sent all of these boats, trucks, this warning, even a helicopter, and you didn't get on board. What more did you want me to do? So that's the same thing right now. People see these problems going on. People that know the word that tells you to prepare, and they're still not doing it, they're going to be the ones willing to do whatever for a little piece of food.
Yeah, I feel like you should, like, of course, like, because you got to live in real world too. So I think you should prepare, but there's only so much that you can do, you know, if you don't have money like that. You know, a lot of people don't have money. Like,
I mean, you got to start somewhere.
A lot of brothers and sisters, if they miss a car note, they only got like $500 in their bank account. I mean, some, if that.
Well, what you're talking about is a major thing.
What advice would you give to somebody who, because there's a lot of people really right now don't even have $400 or $500 in their banking account now. You know what I mean? What advice, like, what advice would you give to them to start to get prepared for, you know, just in case any, you know, situation may arise?
Well, this is a loaded question. Where do you start? You can start small with whatever budget that you have. Instead of purchasing, here's the thing: stop going out. Stop buying fast food. Cook at home. Yep. Instead of driving your car every day, figure out a way to go walk somewhere to get to what it is that you need to do. That's if you live in if you're still living in a city. Talk with people and learn how to purchase in bulk. Between the three of you, do you know 100 people?
No.
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 Okay. Well, that's where being around like-minded people will get you so much further.
Mm-hmm.
If you like to eat hamburgers, if you like to eat steak, or do any of you like to eat burgers and steak?
Yeah.
Do you have a freezer?
Yeah.
Okay. You can plan out that at some point in this year, the three of you need to get together $1,500, depending on like $1,000 to $1,500, and say, "Hey, butcher, I want to purchase a cow. Have you butcher it up. Let's wrap all this stuff up, put it away in the freezer, and all of you will have steaks and burgers for a year."
But what if power go out?
Well, that's where you got to plan ahead. Either you have a solar backup, or you have a generator backup to take care of that, or you just have a big party and grill all of it.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. If push come to shove, you got a barbecue grill. You know what I mean? Like, hey,
feed the block.
I ain't gonna lie, man. If this stuff happened, like, you know, we've been saying, I think a lot of people's houses are getting broken into, and I don't know if you stacking up, especially if you're in the inner city, if you're stacking up, it's good to do it, and I think everybody should. But
I mean, you
know, it's gonna be crazy time. It's gonna be the tribulation, so I feel like those times it's gonna be crazy. You know?
That's why
in bulk. You know, yeah, you should buy a bunch of stuff in bulk.
If you got like 10 people outside your house with them things.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that you should always have some to go. Like, hey, you know, I got a lot of stuff in bulk, but as far as necessity, matter of fact, that is a question for you. So I know everyone has a bunch of stuff to go, but we both know if everything were to pop off right now, they say you got 10 minutes to evacuate. What are you grabbing?
Nothing. If we gotta go, my wife and son go get in the vehicle and go, because we already have go bags with food and clothes in the vehicles.
That's what I'm saying. So what's in that go bag? That's what I'm asking. What's in that go bag?
Well, it's dried foods where you there's water purification, there's stuff to sleep in, there is there are like shelf-stable peanut butter, there's
first aid kit.
First aid. Well, speaking of that, I do media for Bear Dependence First Aid Company, which is refugemedical.com. Y'all should go check that out. We sell first aid kits, and we teach people how not to die using them. A lot of people will go out and buy a first aid kit, but they don't have the training on what to do. Have any of you been around someone that's been shot?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Did you stand there screaming, crying, recording, or did you pull out a tourniquet?
Well, I was actually.
I no longer go to a state that will not that will consider me a felon for what I'm carrying with me. I just refuse to. Like, why would I put myself in that situation? Like, oh, I want to go back and visit New Jersey to go do this or that and be handicapped, and then something like that happens. Then what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, so what are some states or cities that you deem to, to see like, hey, because you named earlier, okay, it was Oklahoma, it was Kansas, and I believe you mentioned somewhere else. You know what I mean? What states do you like that you feel are friendly to, your situation?
Oklahoma is actually number one. Maine was good, but you have to go through too many non-friendly states to get there. Mostly like south of Virginia, so like Tennessee west up until you get to maybe half of Arizona, and then north of there, everything else sucks.
That's rough.
So like Tennessee,
I thought Texas,
Arizona,
you can have it.
Excuse me?
I thought Texas, you can have your pistol.
You can have your pistol, but a lot of the if you're in rural Texas, you're fine. But if you're in some of those bigger cities in Texas, that's where you're going to start to have a problem, because that liberal mindset from California, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts is starting to congregate in major cities in Texas, and then they're chipping away at all your rights down there.
What about Florida?
Florida is it's wishy-washy down there. That's about the same thing. If you're going to South Florida to like the Miami area, it's a no-go down there. Plus, with all the poverty that's down there, you're putting yourself in a bad situation. If you're on the west side, like anywhere on I-75, except for Tampa, you could be somewhat decent, but still, Florida is not a good place due to the weather. It's nice and warm all year round, but at least 2 or 3 times a year, a tornado will come through there and destroy everything.
Wow.
All right.
I mean, a hurricane.
Yeah.
Yeah, wake up your whole house, car, everything gone.
Yes.
Thank you for talking.
Yeah, man, we definitely appreciate you giving us your time. We see it's dark over there now, and but no, this is a great talk, man. Educational as well. We learned some things, and man, thank you again. Thank you.
No problem. And if anybody wants to find me on all the social media stuff, you could either Google me, J.A. Dudley, or go to allmylinks.com/J.A. Dudley. Everything about me comes up. All the stuff that I do, whether it's with Refuge Medical, Bear Independent, or Grindstone Ministries. Before we go, let me tell you about this. Another reason why I moved out here was because of Grindstone Ministries, that Bear Independent he created. When there's a major storm, we grab all of our gear and we go help people. Now we're building a facility that's going to house victims of child sex trafficking from around the country, especially here in Oklahoma. That pipeline coming up from Mexico, going through Texas, hitting Oklahoma, and then spreading out. We're doing everything that we can to stop that, or at least slow it down and help people recover that were victims of all of that.
There's sex trafficking people from Mexico?
Everywhere. Yeah. Mexico too.
Everywhere.
You know what? And I'm not going to get into it, but it's a lot of people involved in that. Like, there's no way. There's no way. You know what I mean? But I definitely appreciate what the fact that you brought that part up. And it's the part about helping people and believing in God and being in the Bible. Yeah. And I can definitely sense that you have a true, genuinely spirit, and you are a God-fearing man. And I love that.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean?
We appreciate it. We need more people like you in the world out here doing what you do and actually giving back and giving out the information. Keep doing what you do. Stay blessed. We'll keep in touch, brother. And you have a beautiful, blessed night or day, wherever you got going on right now. But we definitely appreciate you giving us your time, man. We'll keep in touch. You have a beautiful one. Okay.
Thank you. Take care. Shalom.
Thank you. God bless, man.